Captain Tejo stood in the control room of the submarine Becky, watching the depth gauge climb higher as they descended into the Pacific Ocean. The metal walls around him hummed with the steady sound of the engines. His crew worked quietly. At their stations, each person focused on their job. 2,000 meters and going deeper, called out Bo-Ra from her sonar station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she listened to the sounds of the ocean through her headphones. "Everything looks normal so far, Captain." Tejo nodded and walked over to where Dong-Wook was checking the weapons systems. "The weapons." Officer looked up from his screens and gave a thumbs up. "All torpedoes ready, sir. Everything is working perfectly." "Good," Tejo said. "Hyojin, how are the engines?" The engineer looked up from her control panel and smiled. "Running smooth as silk, Captain. We can stay down here for weeks if we need to." The Baekje was one of South Korea's newest submarines. It was fast, quiet, and deadly. Today they were doing training exercises in the deep Pacific, practicing moves they might need in a real war. Tejo had been a submarine captain for 15 years, but he still loved the feeling of being underwater, hidden from the world above. "Captain," Bo-Ra said, her voice suddenly different, "I'm getting some strange readings on sonar. Something big is down there." Tejo walked quickly to her station. "What kind of big?" Bo-Ra frowned at her screen. "I'm not sure. It's not moving." "Like a whale or any other sea animal I know. And it's huge. Maybe as big as a city block." "Could it be another submarine?" Dong-Wook asked, looking worried. "No," Bo-Ra shook her head. "The shape is all wrong, and there's more than one. I count at least 5 large objects, all sitting on the ocean floor." Tejo felt his heart beat faster. "Show me." Bo-Ra turned her screen so everyone could see. The sonar image showed strange shapes on the ocean floor, far below them. They looked like buildings, but buildings could not exist at this depth. The pressure would crush them instantly. "Could it be an old shipwreck?" Hyojin asked. "Not unless someone sank 5 aircraft carriers in perfect formation," Bo-Ra said. "These things are arranged in a pattern, like someone built a city down there." Tejo stared at the screen. In all his years underwater, he had never seen anything like this. "Take us down for a closer look, but stay quiet. I don't want anyone to know we're here." The Becky moved deeper into the ocean. The pressure outside grew stronger, but the submarine was built to handle it. They passed 3,000 meters, then 4,000. The sunlight from above disappeared completely, leaving them in the eternal darkness of the deep sea. 5,000 meters, Bo-Ra reported. "We're getting close to whatever is down there." Suddenly, the ocean around them began to glow. Soft blue and green lights appeared in the water, like someone had turned on underwater street lights. The lights came from the structures on the ocean floor. "What in the world?" Dong-Wook whispered. The lights grew brighter as they watched. Then something impossible happened. The structures began to move. They rose from the ocean floor like giant mushrooms, growing in fast motion. As they rose, the crew could see that they were not buildings at all. They were alive. "Captain," Bo-Ra said, her voice shaking, "those aren't structures. They're creatures. Living creatures the size of skyscrapers." The creatures had smooth, curved bodies that glowed with their own light. They moved through the water with grace, despite their enormous size. As they rose, more lights appeared on the ocean floor. More creatures were waking up. "How many are there?" Tejo asked. Bo-Ra worked frantically at her controls. "I'm counting over 50 now, and more are appearing every second." One of the creatures turned toward their submarine. It had no eyes that they could see, but somehow Taeho knew it was looking right at them. The creature was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Its body pulsed with colors that shifted from blue to green to purple. "Should we fire at it?" Dongwook asked, his hand moving to the weapons controls. "No," Taeho said quickly. "We don't know what they are or what they want, and they're too big. Our torpedoes might not even hurt them." The creature moved closer to the submarine. It was so large that the Baekje could have fit inside its mouth with room to spare. But it didn't try to attack. It just watched them with whatever senses it used instead of eyes. Then something amazing happened. The creature began to change shape. Its body stretched and twisted until it looked almost like a submarine itself. But it was still alive, still glowing with that strange light. "It's copying us," Hyojin said in wonder. "It's trying to look like our submarine." More creatures began to rise from deeper parts of the ocean floor. These were different from the first ones. They were smaller but more numerous. They moved in groups, like schools of fish, but each one was still larger than any. "Whale! Captain!" Bo-Ra said urgently. "I'm picking up sounds. They're making noise." "What kind of sounds?"
"It's like singing, but deeper, much deeper. And it's not random. It has a pattern, like they're talking to each other."
Taeho listened carefully. Even through the thick walls of the submarine, he could hear it. A low musical sound that seemed to come from all directions at once. It was beautiful and haunting, like the song of some ancient god of the sea. "They're intelligent," he said quietly. "These aren't just animals. They're talking to each other." As if responding to his words, the singing stopped. The creatures all turned toward the submarine at the same time. For a moment, everything was perfectly still. Then the largest creature began to glow brighter, and new sounds came from it. These were different from the singing. They were sharper, more urgent. "It sounds like orders," Dongwook said. He was right. The smaller creatures began to move in formation, spreading out across the ocean floor in organized patterns. Some of them started building structures that grew from the seafloor like coral reefs, but much faster. Others swam away in different directions, as if they were being sent on missions. "We need to get word to the surface," Taeho said. "The world needs to know about this." "Captain," Bo-Ra said, her voice tight with worry. "More contacts coming up from the deep, hundreds of them, and they're rising fast." The ocean below them was coming alive. Creatures of all sizes were emerging from trenches and underwater caves. The water itself began to glow as millions of smaller organisms joined the larger ones. It was like watching an underwater city wake up after sleeping for thousands of years. "Take us up," Taeho ordered. "Emergency ascent. We need to report this immediately." But as the Baekje began to rise, one of the large creatures moved to block their path. It didn't try to harm them, but it was clear that it didn't want them to leave. The creature's body pulsed with different colors, and the singing sound started again. "I think it's trying to communicate with us," Hyojin said. "Can we communicate back?" Taeho asked. Bo-Ra shook her head. "Not with our current equipment. We'd need linguists and computers and years of study to figure out what they're saying." The creature blocking their path moved aside, but not before releasing a cloud of glowing particles into the water. The particles stuck to the submarine's hull like tiny stars. Then the creature swam away, rejoining the others. "Those particles," Hyojin said, studying her instruments. "They're not harming the submarine, but they're definitely attached to us. I think we've been marked." "Marked for what?" Dongwook asked. "I don't know," Taeho said grimly. but I have a feeling we're going to find out soon enough. The Bayekye continued its ascent toward the surface, carrying the first evidence that humanity was no longer alone in the oceans. Behind them, the underwater civilization continued to wake up, preparing for something that would change the world forever. As they rose through the dark water, Taeho couldn't shake the feeling that they had just witnessed the beginning of something enormous. The creatures below were not just animals. They were builders, organizers, and planners. And now they knew that humans existed. The glowing particles on their hull pulsed gently in the darkness, like a beacon calling to something in the deep. Whatever was coming next, humanity was not ready for it. Admiral Mi Young sat in the command center looking at reports from around the world. Every screen showed the same thing. Strange structures were rising from ocean floors everywhere. The Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean. All of them had these. Mysterious underwater cities appearing overnight. "How many confirmed sightings?" she asked her aide. "Over 300 locations worldwide, Admiral. And the number keeps growing." Mi Young rubbed her tired eyes. It had been 3 days since Captain Taeho's report about the creatures in the deep Pacific. At first, the military leaders thought it was some kind of mistake, but then reports started coming in from submarines all over the world. The creatures were everywhere, and they were building cities on the ocean floor. "What about the surface? Ships we sent to investigate?" The aide looked uncomfortable. "All destroyed, Admiral. The creatures attacked them with some kind of sound weapon. The ships just melted." Mi Young felt cold fear in her stomach. Whatever these creatures were, they did not want humans on the surface of their territory. But submarines were different. For some reason, the creatures left submarines alone as long as they stayed underwater and didn't attack. A communication officer hurried over with a message. "Admiral, we're getting reports from submarines near the Mariana Trench. The creatures are doing something big down there. Show me." The main screen changed to show sonar readings from the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. The images made Mi Young's hands shake. A structure the size of a mountain was rising from the trench floor. It pulsed with light and seemed to be growing larger every hour. "What do our experts think it is?" "They don't know, Admiral, but it's giving off energy readings unlike anything we've ever seen, and there are hundreds of the creatures around it, all working together like they're building something." Mi Young knew that the world's governments were trying to make contact with these creatures. They had sent messages through underwater speakers, tried light signals, even attempted to communicate through mathematics. Nothing worked. The creatures ignored every attempt at communication, but they didn't ignore attacks. 2 days ago, the Chinese Navy had fired missiles at one of the underwater cities. The creatures had responded by destroying every Chinese ship within 100 miles of their territory. The attack was swift and brutal. No survivors. "Get me Captain Taeho on the line," Mi Young ordered. A few minutes later, Taeho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but alert. Behind him, Mi Young could see the crew of the Baekje working at their stations. "Captain, I need your assessment. Can we fight these things?" Taeho was quiet for a moment. "Admiral, I've been watching them for 3 days now. They're incredibly advanced. Their technology is biological, not mechanical like ours. But they have weaknesses." "What kind of weaknesses?" "They're too big for tight spaces. They need room to maneuver, and they seem to be connected to their cities somehow. If we could cut those connections, you think our submarines could make a difference?" "Yes, Admiral. We're smaller, faster, and we can hide in places they can't reach. They've adapted to fighting on the open ocean floor. They're not used to fighting an enemy that can strike and disappear." Mi Young felt a spark of hope. How many submarines do we have available? Worldwide? Maybe 200 combat-ready submarines, not counting the smaller coastal defense boats. It wasn't many against an enemy that numbered in the thousands, but it was something. "Admiral," came another voice from the communication station. "We're getting an emergency signal from Lieutenant Jae Sung on the Japanese submarine Hakuryu. He says he's under attack." The main screen switched to show the location of the Japanese submarine. It was near one of the smaller underwater cities, about 50 miles off the coast of Japan. "Put me through to them," Mi-young ordered. Static filled the speakers. Then Jae-sung's voice came through, tight with fear. "This is Lieutenant Jae-sung. We're being hunted by something. It's not like the big creatures we've seen before. This one is built for hunting submarines." Through the static, they could hear sonar pings and the sound of something large moving through the water. "Describe what you're seeing," Mi-young said into the microphone. "It's about the same size as our submarine, but it moves like a living thing. It has tentacles or appendages that glow. And it's fast. Much faster than us." The sonar operator on the Hakuryu shouted something in Japanese that the translators couldn't make out. Then Jae-sung's voice came back, even more urgent. "It's using echolocation to track us. Just like a whale, but more precise. And there's something else. It's making sounds that are interfering with our sonar. We're almost blind down here." "Can you fight it?" Mi-young asked. "We're trying, but our torpedoes aren't working properly. The creature is doing something to our guidance systems. The torpedoes just spin in circles." On the deck, Captain Tae-ho leaned forward. "Lieutenant, try shutting down all your electronic systems except life support. Go completely silent. Don't use sonar. Don't use engines. Just drift." "Sir, that's suicide. If we can't see or move, we're helpless. Trust me. These creatures hunt by detecting electronic signals and engine noise. If you go completely silent, you might disappear from their senses." There was a long pause. Then the sounds from the Hakuryu changed. The engine noise stopped. The electronic humming went quiet. For a moment, there was only the sound of ocean water against the submarine's hull. "It's working," Jae-sung whispered. "The creature stopped moving toward us. It's circling around like it's confused." "Now," Tae-ho said, "while it's confused, launch a torpedo with manual guidance only. No electronic systems." They heard the sound of a torpedo being fired. Then an explosion echoed through the water. "Direct." "Hit!" Jae-sung shouted. "The creature is hurt! It's retreating back toward the city." Admiral Mi-young smiled grimly. The first victory against the alien hunters. It was small, but it proved that humans could fight back. "All submarines," she announced over the communication system. "You've just heard Lieutenant Jae-sung demonstrate new tactics against the alien hunters. Silent running is now standard procedure when encountering these creatures. Pass this information to all submarine commanders immediately." Over the next several hours, reports came in from around the world. The creatures had released more hunters. Biological submarines designed to track and destroy human vessels. But now the human submarine crews knew how to fight them. The Russian submarine Severodvinsk, under Captain Alexei Volkov, used the silent, running tactic to ambush 3 alien hunters near the Arctic Ocean. The British submarine HMS Audacious, commanded by Captain James Mitchell, successfully protected a group of research vessels by destroying 2 hunters in the North Atlantic. But the most impressive victory came from Captain Tae-ho himself. The Becky was patrolling near the large structure in the Mariana Trench when 5 alien hunters surrounded them. Instead of running, Tae-ho ordered his crew to implement a new strategy. Bo-Ra, I need you to map the exact positions of all 5 hunters. Dong-wook, prepare 5 torpedoes, but don't arm them yet. Hyojin, get ready to give us maximum speed. On my signal. The alien hunters were closing in, using their echolocation to pinpoint the submarine's location. Their bioluminescent appendages glowed brighter as they prepared to attack. Now! Tae-ho shouted. The Baekje went completely silent for exactly 3 seconds. In that time, all 5 hunters lost track of their target and moved toward where they thought the submarine would be. At that exact moment, Tae-ho ordered all engines to full power. The submarine shot forward like a bullet, passing between 2 of the confused hunters. As it moved, Dong-wook fired all 5 torpedoes in different directions. Each torpedo was programmed to explode after a set time, creating a pattern of explosions that would confuse and damage the hunters. The strategy worked perfectly. 3 of the hunters were badly damaged by the explosions. The other 2 fled back toward their underwater city. Admiral, Tae-ho reported, the biological hunters have predictable behavior patterns. They rely too much on their natural senses. Our mechanical systems give us advantages they can't match. Mi-young felt hope growing stronger. Captain, I want you to work with Submarine. Commanders worldwide. Develop new tactics. Share what you learn. If we're going to fight these creatures, we need every advantage we can get. As reports of human victories spread, something interesting happened. The alien creatures began to change their tactics too. They stopped sending individual hunters and started working in groups. They began using new kinds of attacks that human submarines had never encountered before. The war in the depths was just beginning, and both sides were learning fast. Chief Petty Officer Sun-hee worked in the weapons lab deep inside the naval base. Around her, pieces of destroyed alien creatures lay on metal tables. Scientists and engineers studied every part, trying to understand how the biological technology worked. The guidance systems on our torpedoes keep failing, she explained to the team of submarine officers gathered around her workstation. The aliens produce some kind of electrical field that confuses our electronics. Captain Tae-ho picked up one of the damaged torpedo guidance units. Can we fix this? Better than that, Sun-hee said with a smile. I think we can make our torpedoes immune to their interference. She showed them her new design. Instead of relying only on electronic guidance, the new torpedoes would use a combination of mechanical gyroscopes and simple magnetic compasses. The electronics would still work, but if the aliens tried to jam them, the torpedoes would switch to the backup systems automatically. How long to build them? Asked Captain Hyun-woo, the commander of the nuclear submarine Sejong the Great. My team can have 50 modified torpedoes ready in 2 days, Sun-hee replied. While Sun-hee worked on better weapons, reports came in from around the world. The aliens were getting more aggressive. Their hunters were working in packs now, and they had started attacking submarines without warning. Worse, they had deployed something new. Captain James Mitchell of the British submarine HMS Audacious sent an urgent message that made everyone in the command center go quiet. This is Captain Mitchell reporting from the North Atlantic. We've encountered a new type of alien vessel. It's massive, larger than an aircraft carrier, but it's alive, and it's not alone. The main screen showed sonar images from the British submarine. The shape was enormous and moved through the water with slow, powerful strokes. Smaller creatures swam around it like pilot fish around a shark. We call them Leviathan-class vessels, Admiral Mi-young announced to the assembled submarine commanders. They appear to be mobile command centers for the alien forces. Early reports suggest they can generate electromagnetic pulses strong enough to shut down our submarines completely. Captain Hyun-woo raised his hand. Admiral, what about their weapons? They don't need weapons, came the voice of Captain Sarah Chen from the American submarine USS Virginia. Her ship had encountered one of the Leviathans near Hawaii. They release swarms of smaller organisms that attach to submarine hulls and eat through the metal. My crew barely escaped. The room fell silent. Fighting the smaller alien hunters was difficult enough. These new creatures sounded impossible to defeat. There has to be a weak point, Captain Taeho said. Everything has a weakness. Admiral Mi-young nodded. That's why we're sending a reconnaissance mission to the Mariana Trench. Captain Hyun-woo, your submarine has the best deep-diving capability. We need you to get close to their main construction site and find out what they're building. Captain. Hyun-woo looked at the depth charts. That's almost 11,000 meters down, Admiral. Even the Sejong the Great will be at maximum pressure limits. I know the risks, Mi-young replied. But if we don't learn more about their plans, we'll be fighting blind. 3 days later, the Sejong the Great descended into the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean. Captain Hyun-woo's crew included demolitions expert Young Mi and communications officer Seung-ho. They had volunteered for the mission, knowing they might not return. 8,000 meters and descending, reported the depth officer. Through the thick windows of the submarine, they could see lights far below. Not just a few lights, but thousands of them spread across the ocean floor like a glowing city. My God, whispered Young Mi. It's huge. As they descended further, the scale of the alien construction became clear. The creatures had built structures that covered hundreds of square miles of ocean floor. Massive towers rose from the seabed, connected by glowing tubes that pulsed with some kind of energy. Captain, Seung-ho called from the communication station. I'm picking up signals. The aliens are talking to each other, but there's something else. I think they're changing the water itself. What do you mean? Seung-ho checked his instruments. Again. The chemical composition of the seawater around their city is different. It's more acidic than normal seawater, and there are biological compounds I don't recognize. Young Mai studied her sensors. Captain, this is bad. They're not just building cities, they're terraforming the ocean, making it more suitable for their biology and less suitable for ours. Captain Hyun-woo realized the full horror of what they were seeing. The aliens weren't just invading Earth's oceans, they were changing them into something that would be poisonous to human technology and deadly to human life. We need to destroy that facility, he said. Sir, with respect, we only have 12 torpedoes, Young Mi pointed out. That city is the size of Manhattan. Then we target the most important parts. Seung-ho, can you identify which structures are sending out the most signals? The communications officer worked frantically at his equipment. There, Captain, that tower in the center. It's sending commands to the entire facility. Young Mi, can you hit it? The demolitions expert studied the target through the periscope. It's heavily defended. I count at least 20 Leviathan-class creatures around it, plus hundreds of smaller hunters. But there might be a way. She explained her plan. Instead of attacking the tower directly, they would target the energy conduits that connected it to the rest of the facility. If they could cut the power supply, the tower might shut down temporarily. It's risky, she admitted. We'll have to get very close, and once we start shooting, every alien in that city will be after us. Do it, Captain Hyun-woo ordered. Chatei. Sejong the Great moved quietly through the water, staying close to the ocean floor to avoid detection. When they reached the outer edge of the alien city, young Me began firing torpedoes with surgical precision. The first torpedo hit an energy conduit and exploded in a shower of blue sparks. Immediately, sections of the city went dark. The aliens responded with panic and rage. Creatures poured out of the structures like angry bees from a disturbed hive. "Second torpedo away," young Me called. Another energy conduit exploded. More of. The city went dark. But now the aliens had found them. "Leviathan approaching from the east," called the sonar operator. "It's big, Captain. Bigger than anything we've seen before." Through the windows, they could see it coming. The creature was like a living mountain, covered in bioluminescent patterns that pulsed with anger. Smaller organisms swirled around it like a living tornado. "Fire all remaining torpedoes at the central tower," Captain Hyun-woo ordered. "Then get us out of here." Young Me launched 8 torpedoes in rapid succession. Most of them hit their targets, causing massive explosions in the heart of the alien city. The central tower swayed and began to topple, its light flickering and dying. But the Leviathan was almost on top of them. The creature opened what might have been a mouth, revealing rows of structures that crackled with electrical energy. An electromagnetic pulse shot out, hitting the Sejong the Great and causing half the submarine systems to shut down. "Emergency power only," Hyejin called from the engine room. "Main engines are offline." "Use the backup systems," Captain Hyun-woo ordered. "Get us moving." The submarine limped away from the alien city as creatures swarmed behind them. The Leviathan followed, but it was too large to move quickly. Slowly, the Sejong the Great pulled ahead and escaped into the dark waters of the deep ocean. "Mission accomplished," Captain Hyun-woo reported when they reached safe depth. "The alien facility is badly damaged, but Admiral, what we saw down there, they're changing our oceans into something that will kill everything human." The news of the successful attack spread quickly through the submarine fleet, but it also brought terrible knowledge. The aliens weren't just invading. They were transforming Earth's oceans into an environment where only they could survive. Admiral Mi Young called an emergency meeting of all submarine commanders. "The situation has changed," she announced. "This isn't just about territory anymore. If we don't stop them, they'll poison every ocean on Earth. Our submarines are the only weapons that can reach them. We're not just fighting for victory anymore. We're fighting for the survival of our planet." Around the world, submarine crews prepared for the greatest battle in human history. The aliens had revealed their true plan, and now humanity knew what was at stake. The war in the depths was no longer just about who would control the oceans. It was about whether Earth would remain a world where humans could live. Dr. Yoonji stood on the deck of the research ship floating above one of the destroyed alien cities. The water around the ship had turned a sickly green color, and dead fish floated on the surface. She lowered her sampling equipment into the toxic water and waited for the results. "The mineral content is completely wrong," she told Admiral Mi Young over the radio. "The aliens need specific deep-sea minerals to power their biological technology. But here's the interesting part. If we can disrupt those minerals, their creatures start to die." Admiral Mi Young leaned forward in her command chair. "How do we disrupt them?" "Electromagnetic pulses, but not the kind the aliens use. We need very specific frequencies that interfere with how their biology processes these minerals. I've been working with the engineering teams to design devices that can generate these pulses." While Dr. Yoonji worked on understanding alien biology, Commander Ji-hoon prepared his new submarine for its first mission. The turtle ship was different from every other submarine in the fleet. It was smaller, quieter, and covered with experimental technology designed to make it nearly invisible to alien senses. Bioscramblers are online, reported his electronics officer. The devices are interfering with alien bioelectric communications in a radius of 2 miles. Ji-hoon smiled. The bioscramblers were Dr. Yoon-ji's invention. They sent out signals that confused the electrical systems inside alien creatures, making it impossible for them to communicate with each other or coordinate their attacks. "Take us down to patrol depth," Ji-hoon ordered. "Let's see how well these new toys work." The turtle ship descended into waters near an alien city off the coast of Japan. As soon as they reached the alien patrol area, the bioscramblers activated. Through the periscope, Ji-hoon could see the effect immediately. Alien hunters that had been swimming in perfect formation suddenly broke apart, each creature swimming in a different direction. They bumped into each other and made confused sounds that the sonar picked up as chaotic noise. "It's working," Ji-hoon said with satisfaction. "They can't talk to each other. They're fighting blind." But the aliens were learning too. Reports came in from around the world about new types of creatures that human submarines had never seen before. These new aliens were even more dangerous than the hunters. Captain Sarah Chen of the USS Virginia sent an urgent warning to all submarines. "New contact type confirmed. We're calling them phase wraiths. They can change their density somehow. One moment they're solid, the next moment, they pass right through our hull like ghosts." The phase wraiths were terrifying. They could become nearly invisible and slip through solid metal as if it wasn't there. Several submarines had been destroyed when these creatures appeared inside their hulls without warning. Petty Officer Narration, working on a South Korean coastal defense submarine, was the first person to figure out how to detect them. "Captain," she called to her commanding officer, "I think I found something. The phase wraiths might be nearly invisible, but they still make sound when they move through water." She had been studying sonar recordings from attacks by the phase wraiths. Hidden in the background noise, she found a very faint acoustic signature that appeared just before each attack. "It's like a whisper," she explained to the submarine commanders during an emergency video conference. "You have to listen very carefully, but it's there. They make a specific sound frequency when they're changing density." Nare's discovery saved countless lives. Submarine sonar operators around the world began listening for the whisper that warned of phase wraith attacks. Within days, human submarines were successfully avoiding and even destroying the ghostly creatures. But the aliens had more surprises. Engineer Min-soo was working in the engine room of a submarine near the Philippines when the first echo worm attack happened. He noticed that the submarine's computers were acting strangely, giving wrong readings and making systems malfunction. "Captain," he called over the intercom, "something's wrong with our electronics. They're not responding to commands properly." Through the ship's internal cameras, Min-soo saw something impossible. Thin, worm-like creatures were moving through the electrical conduits, somehow passing through the wires themselves. As they moved, they left behind a biological residue that made the submarine's systems turn against its own crew. "The creatures are inside our submarine," Min-soo reported. "They're infecting our technology." The echo worms were the aliens' most insidious weapon. They could enter human submarines through any electrical connection and gradually take control of all systems. Infected submarines would turn their weapons on friendly vessels or surface in the middle of alien territory. Min-soo worked desperately to find a solution. He discovered that the echo worms were vulnerable to very high electrical voltages, much higher than normal submarine systems used. "We need to overload our electrical systems," he explained to his captain. "Send a massive power surge through every wire and circuit. It will damage some of our equipment, but it should kill the worms." The technique worked, but it was dangerous. Submarines that used Minsu's electrical surge method often lost important systems and had to surface for repairs. Still, it was better than being taken over by alien parasites. As the war continued, both sides kept creating new weapons and defenses. The aliens developed creatures that could mimic the acoustic signatures of human submarines, confusing sonar operators. Humans responded by creating better identification systems based on engine vibrations that aliens couldn't perfectly copy. Captain So Young pioneered new attack strategies that took advantage of submarine independence. Unlike alien bioships that needed to stay connected to their cities, human submarines could operate alone for weeks or months. "We hunt in wolf packs," she explained to her fellow captains. 3 or 4 submarines working together but spread out over a large area. When we find alien creatures, we attack from multiple directions at once. The wolf pack tactics were devastating against alien hunters. The creatures were used to fighting single opponents, not coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Human submarines would surround alien patrols and destroy them before they could call for help. But the aliens' most frightening leader was just beginning to make himself known. Wartide Morgan was different from the other alien commanders. Where most aliens relied on biological weapons and natural abilities, Morgan studied human tactics and developed countermeasures. He created sonic weapons that could liquefy human tissue through submarine hulls. He designed biomines that mimicked whale songs to lure submarines into traps. Most terrifying of all, he began using human psychology against submarine crews. Sonar specialist Wu Jin was the first to encounter Morgan's psychological warfare. His submarine was patrolling near an alien city when strange sounds began coming through the sonar system. "Captain," Wu Jin called, his voice shaking. "I'm hearing voices, human voices. They're calling for help." The sounds were recordings of human submarine crews in distress, played back through alien bioacoustic systems. The voices begged for rescue, screamed in terror, or called out the names of family members back home. "It's not real," the captain told his crew. "It's a trick to make us break cover." But the psychological pressure was enormous. Several submarines revealed their positions by trying to rescue crews that were already dead, walking into alien ambushes. Wu Jin developed countermeasures called phantom protocols. These allowed submarines to create false acoustic signatures that mimicked alien creatures. A human submarine could make itself sound like an alien bioship, allowing it to move through enemy territory undetected. "The key," Wu Jin explained, "is understanding that the aliens identify each other through specific sound patterns. If we can copy those patterns, we become invisible to them." The phantom protocols were incredibly effective. Submarines using Wu Jin's techniques could swim right past alien patrols without being noticed. Some submarines even infiltrated alien cities, gathering intelligence and striking at critical targets. Environmental Officer Hei Wan worked to protect human submarine bases from alien attempts to poison the surrounding water. She developed portable biofilters that could neutralize alien toxins and artificial reef barriers that prevented alien organisms from approaching human facilities. "They're trying to make the oceans uninhabitable for us," she reported. "But two can play that game. Our artificial reefs are designed to support Earth sea life and poison alien organisms." The underwater war was becoming more complex every day. Both sides adapted, evolved, and found new ways to fight. But humanity had one crucial advantage that the aliens couldn't match. Human submarines were completely independent. They didn't need to stay connected to underwater cities or maintain contact with command structures. Each submarine was a complete fighting unit that could operate alone in enemy territory for extended periods. This independence was about to become the key to humanity's survival, as the aliens prepared to reveal their ultimate weapon in the depths of the ocean. Captain So-Young watched her sonar screen as 3 submarines moved through the dark water around her. The Wolfpack tactics she had developed were working perfectly. Her submarine, the Sea Wolf, led 2 other vessels in a hunting formation that the aliens had never encountered before. "Contact bearing 270, whispered her sonar operator. "Large bioship, probably a hunter-killer class. It's alone." So-Young smiled. Alien creatures were powerful when they worked together, but alone they were vulnerable. "Signal the pack. Attack pattern Delta. Hit it from 3 sides at once." The 3 submarines spread out in the darkness, moving silently through the water. Each submarine approached the alien creature from a different angle. The alien bioship had no idea it was being hunted. "Fire!" So-Young commanded. 3 torpedoes struck the alien creature at exactly the same moment. The bioship flashed with brilliant light as it died, then sank toward the ocean floor. The attack had taken less than 30 seconds. "Another successful hunt," So-Young reported to Admiral Mi-Young. "The aliens still haven't learned to counter our pack tactics." But Wartide Morgan was learning. In his deep command center, surrounded by glowing biocomputers that pulsed with alien thoughts, he studied reports of human submarine attacks. The humans were becoming more dangerous every day. "They fight like the deep hunters of my home world," he told his subordinates. "Independent, coordinated, striking without warning. But they have a weakness." Morgan had noticed something that other alien commanders had missed. Human submarines were individual units, but they still needed to communicate with each other and with their command centers on land. If he could disrupt those communications, he could isolate human submarines and destroy them one by one. He began, deploying communication jammers, bioacoustic creatures that could block radio signals and sonar communications over vast areas of ocean. When human submarines entered these zones, they became deaf and blind, cut off from their wolf packs and command structures. Sonar specialist Wu Jin was the first to encounter this new threat. His submarine entered a communication dead zone near the Aleutian Islands and immediately lost contact with the rest of his wolf pack. "Captain," he reported, "all communications are down. Something is blocking every frequency we use." The submarine was alone in hostile waters with no way to call for help or coordinate with friendly forces. But Wu Jin had been developing new techniques for exactly this situation. "Switch to Phantom Protocol 7, he ordered. "We'll mimic the acoustic signature of an alien patrol vessel." Using his sound-mimicking technology, Wu Jin made their submarine sound like one of the alien bioships. To alien sensors, they appeared to be a friendly patrol vessel. This allowed them to move through the communication dead zone without being attacked. "We can turn their own tactics against them," Wu Jin explained when they finally escaped the jamming field. "If they want to isolate us, we'll become invisible and strike from inside their own formations." Meanwhile, Environmental Officer Hai Wan was fighting a different kind of battle. The aliens were accelerating their terraforming efforts, releasing biological agents that made seawater more acidic and toxic to human technology. "The rate of ocean poisoning is increasing," she reported to the submarine fleet commanders. "In some areas, our submarines can only operate for a few hours before the acidic water starts eating through our hulls." Haywan had been working with engineering teams to develop protective coatings for submarine hulls, but the aliens adapted. Their bioweapons faster than humans could create defenses. We need to take the fight directly to their terraforming centers, she recommended. Every day we wait, more of our oceans become uninhabitable. Captain Kyung-soo of the experimental submarine Sea Dragon had been preparing for exactly this kind of mission. His submarine was equipped with the most advanced stealth technology and bio-scrambling equipment that human engineers could create. My mission is to penetrate deep into alien territory and locate their primary command structure, he explained to his crew. Intelligence reports suggest there's a massive biocity that controls all their terraforming operations. The Sea Dragon was unlike any other submarine in the human fleet. It could change its acoustic signature to mimic different types of alien creatures, making it nearly impossible for aliens to identify as a human vessel. Its hull was coated with bio-resistant materials that could survive in the most poisonous alien-controlled waters. We're going deeper than any human submarine has ever gone, Captain Kyung-soo told his crew as they descended toward the Mariana Trench. If the intelligence reports are correct, we'll find the heart of their entire operation down there. As the Sea Dragon descended, they passed through layers of increasingly alien-controlled water. The seawater itself glowed with bioluminescent organisms, and the pressure readings showed structures that couldn't exist according to human physics. 15,000 meters and still descending, reported the depth officer. We're well beyond the rated limits of the submarine. The bio-resistant hull modifications are holding, the chief engineer reported. But I'm reading stress fractures starting to form. Through the submarine's cameras, they could see the alien megacity spread out below them. It was larger than any human city, covering hundreds of square miles of ocean floor. Massive biostructures reached up toward the surface like organic skyscrapers, connected by flowing tubes that pulsed with alien life. There, Captain Kyung-soo pointed to the center of the city. That structure is sending out command signals to the entire complex. That has to be their deep nexus. The deep nexus was a living mountain of alien biotechnology, pulsing with lights, that coordinated the activities of millions of creatures across all of Earth's oceans. If it could be destroyed, the entire alien invasion would lose its central coordination. Captain, the communications officer called urgently. I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout the city. I think they've found us. War-Tide Morgan had indeed detected the human intrusion. His sensors had finally identified the Sea Dragon's presence despite all its stealth technology. But instead of immediately attacking, he was curious about human capabilities. Let the surface dwellers see our true power, he commanded. Show them the deep nexus in all its glory. Let them understand the futility of resistance. The alien city began to activate weapons that had been dormant since the invasion began. Massive biocannons emerged from the seafloor, powered by the combined life force of millions of alien organisms. Energy beams lanced through the water, powerful enough to vaporize anything they touched. "Emergency ascent!" Captain Kyung-soo ordered. "We've seen what we came to see. Now we need to get this information back to the fleet." The Sea Dragon began its desperate climb toward the surface, chased by alien hunters and energy weapons. The submarine's hull groaned under the stress of rapid decompression, but the bio-resistant modifications held. "Hull breach in Compartment 7, the damage control officer reported. "We're taking on water, but the emergency systems are containing it." "How long until we reach safe depth?" Captain Kyung-soo asked. 12 minutes at current rate of ascent. But the aliens are gaining on us. Behind them, a pack of alien hunters was closing the distance. These weren't the relatively small creatures they had fought before. These were deep nexus guardians, bioships the size of battleships with weapons that could destroy anything in the ocean. "All stop," Captain Kyung-soo ordered suddenly. "Sir, The helm officer looked confused. "I said all stop. Cut engines, go completely silent." The Sea Dragon went dark and began to drift. The alien hunters swept past them, their sensors focused on detecting engine noise and electronic signatures. In the absolute silence of the deep ocean, the human submarine became invisible once again. "Now," Captain Kyung-soo whispered. "Minimum power to engines. Take us up slow and quiet." The Sea Dragon crept toward the surface like a ghost, avoiding the alien search patterns through careful navigation and perfect silence. When they finally reached safe depth, Captain Kyung-soo sent an encrypted message to Admiral Mi-young. "Mission accomplished. Have located primary alien command center. Designated Deep Nexus. Coordinates transmitted. Warning: enemy capabilities far exceed previous estimates. Recommend immediate coordinated strike by all available submarine forces." Admiral Mi-young read the message and felt both hope and fear. The Deep Nexus could be the key to defeating the alien invasion, but attacking it would require every submarine in the human fleet. It would be the largest underwater battle in history, with the fate of Earth's oceans hanging in the balance. "Send word to all submarine commanders," she ordered. "We're going to take the fight directly to the aliens' home base. Prepare for Operation Deep Strike." Around the world, submarine crews began preparing for the final battle that would determine whether humanity remained masters of their own planet's oceans. Admiral Mi-young stood in the command center watching dozens of screens that showed submarine positions around the world. Every combat-ready submarine on Earth was moving toward the coordinates that Captain Kyung-soo had transmitted. It was the largest submarine operation in human history. "Final count, Admiral," her aide reported. 187 submarines from 23 nations, all converging on the Deep Nexus. Mi-young nodded grimly. It wasn't many vessels against an alien city the size of Manhattan, but it was every submarine humanity could field. If this attack failed, there would be no second chance. "Captain Taeho, report your status," she called over the communication system. Taeho's voice came through clearly from the Baekje, now leading the main attack formation. "All systems ready, Admiral. Bo-ra has the target locked on sonar. Dong-wook has prepared our full load of modified torpedoes. Hee-jin reports all engines running perfectly." Around the Baekje, other submarines took their positions. Captain So-young's Sea Wolf led a wolf pack of 12 submarines. Commander Ji-hoon's turtle ship provided electronic warfare support with its bio-scramblers. Captain Hyun-woo's Sejong the Great carried the heaviest weapons in the fleet. "Remember," Admiral Mi-young broadcast to all submarines, "the Deep Nexus controls every alien operation on Earth. Destroy it, and their entire invasion force loses coordination. But be warned, our intelligence suggests the aliens have prepared a final weapon." Far below in the alien city, War-Tide Morgan felt the approach of the human fleet through his biosensors. He had expected this attack ever since the human spy submarine had penetrated his domain. "Surface dwellers think they understand the deep," he told his subordinates. "They will learn that the abyss has defenses they cannot imagine." Morgan activated the Deep Nexus's ultimate protection system. If the humans succeeded in destroying the command center, he would trigger a biotoxic explosion that would poison every ocean on Earth permanently. The aliens would die, but so would all ocean life, making Earth uninhabitable for surface dwellers. "Let them come," Morgan commanded. "We will show them the true meaning of despair." The first human submarines reached the edge of the alien city at exactly midnight. Captain Taeho watched through his periscope as the massive biostructures rose from the ocean floor, glowing with their eerie light. All submarines, commence attack, Admiral Mi-young ordered. The ocean exploded into chaos. Human torpedoes streaked through the water toward alien targets while bioweapons fired back. In retaliation, the alien city's defenses were incredible. Massive biocannons that shot energy beams, swarms of hunter creatures, and weapon systems that had never been seen before. Direct hit on the outer defense ring, reported Captain So-young as her wolf. Pack destroyed a cluster of alien biocannons. We're clearing a path for the main assault force. But the aliens were fighting back with everything they had. A pack of Leviathan-class creatures rose from the deep city, each one larger than a battleship. Their bioelectric weapons disabled 2 human submarines immediately. "This is Captain Mitchell on HMS Audacious," came an urgent transmission. "We're taking heavy fire. These creatures are tougher than anything we've fought before." "Commander," Ji-hoon activated his bioscramblers at maximum power. "All submarines, stay close to the turtle ship. My electronic warfare systems are confusing their targeting." The bioscramblers worked perfectly. Alien weapons began firing randomly, hitting their own creatures instead of human submarines. The confusion allowed the human fleet to push deeper into the city. But War-Tide Morgan had more surprises waiting. Phase wraiths materialized inside several human submarines without warning. These ghostly creatures began attacking crews directly, passing through bulkheads as if they were made of air. Petty Officer Narration, now commanding her own submarine, had prepared for this. "All submarines, activate anti-wraith protocols, high-frequency sonar pulses, maximum intensity." The sonar pulses made the phase wraiths visible and solid, allowing submarine crews to fight them with conventional weapons. The ghostly aliens were driven back, but the battle was far from over. Captain Hyun-woo led the heavy assault group toward the center of the alien city. His nuclear submarine Sejong the Great carried the most powerful weapons in the human fleet. Modified nuclear torpedoes, designed to penetrate the Deep Nexus's biological armor. "Target in sight," he reported. "The Deep Nexus is massive. It's like a living mountain covered in defense systems." The Deep Nexus pulsed with angry light as it detected the approaching threat. Defensive creatures poured out of its bio-chambers, creating a living wall between the human submarines and their target. "We need to get closer," Captain Taeho said over the communications system. "The bio-armor is too thick for long-range attacks." "Agreed," replied Captain So-young. "Wolf packs, form up for close assault. We'll clear a path for the heavy weapons." The human submarines fought their way through swarms of alien defenders. Every meter toward the Deep Nexus cost them dearly. The USS Virginia was destroyed by a bioelectric pulse. 3 Russian submarines were overwhelmed by hunter swarms, but the remaining submarines pressed forward. War-Tide Morgan watched the battle with growing desperation. The surface dwellers were more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Their mechanical ships worked together with deadly precision, supporting each other in ways that alien bioships could not match. "Activate the final protocol," he commanded. "If we cannot have these oceans, neither can they." Deep inside the Nexus, biological systems began preparing the doomsday weapon. When triggered, it would release toxins that would kill every living thing in Earth's oceans within hours. But War-Tide Morgan had made one crucial mistake. He assumed that human submarines operated like alien bioships, connected to Central Command and dependent on coordination from above. He didn't understand that each human submarine was an independent fighting unit. When the Deep Nexus began charging its doomsday weapon, every submarine in the human fleet detected the energy buildup. But instead of retreating or calling for orders, each captain made the same decision independently. All submarines, Captain Tejo broadcast. Ignore the defenses. Target the deep nexus directly. We end this now. Every human submarine turned toward the alien command center and fired everything they had. Torpedoes, missiles, and energy weapons created a storm of destruction that no biological armor could withstand. The deep nexus screamed, a sound that traveled through the water and could be heard by every living thing in the ocean. Its bio-armor cracked and split. Internal systems began failing as human weapons found their targets. Wartide Morgan tried desperately to trigger the doomsday weapon, but Captain Tejo had anticipated this. Using intelligence gathered during Captain Kyung-soo's reconnaissance mission, the Baekje fired a precision torpedo at the exact spot where the weapon's control systems were located. The torpedo struck perfectly, severing the bio-neural connections that controlled the doomsday device. The weapon began to shut down instead of activating. Direct hit on primary target, Tejo reported. The doomsday weapon is offline. Around the deep nexus, alien bioships began to shut down one by one as their command signals failed. Without coordination from the central brain, the creatures became confused and helpless. Wartide Morgan felt his connection to the bio-city failing. In his final moments of command, he understood something that terrified him. The surface dwellers didn't fight as individuals or as a collective mind. They fought as a pack, independent hunters who chose to work together. Impossible, he whispered as the deep nexus died around him. How can they be so coordinated without a central mind? Captain Tejo heard the alien's final transmission through the submarine's communication system. Because, he replied, we don't need to be controlled to work together. We choose to cooperate. The deep nexus collapsed in a cascade of failing biosystems. Across all of Earth's oceans, alien bioships went dormant as their command signals disappeared. The invasion that had threatened to transform every ocean on Earth was over. All submarines report status, Admiral Mi-young called. One by one, the surviving submarines reported in. They had lost many vessels and friends, but they had won. The aliens' coordinated invasion force had become a scattered collection of confused creatures without central leadership. In the days that followed, the remaining aliens sent messages of surrender. Without their war leaders and command systems, they were willing to negotiate. They agreed to withdraw to the deepest ocean trenches, far from human shipping lanes and coastal areas. Captain Tejo surfaced the Baekje for the first time in months. Standing on the deck in the sunlight, he watched other submarines rise from the depths around him. The ocean sparkled in the morning sun, clean and blue and free. We did it, Bo-Ra said, standing beside him. Yes, Tejo replied, looking out at the peaceful water. The oceans belong to humanity again. Years later, Admiral Tejo would train new submarine crews in the lessons learned from the ocean war. The underwater realm had become humanity's domain, protected by the steel sharks that had saved the world from alien invasion. The aliens kept their bargain, remaining in the deepest trenches and occasionally trading biotechnology for human mechanical innovations. But they never forgot the lesson they had learned. Never underestimate the nightmare that human submarines represent to anyone who threatens Earth's oceans.